This is Carrie and Summer with the Say My Name podcast that gives a voice to women's stories. It's my story, it's your story, it's our stories of pain and healing.
Betrayal doesn't begin to describe the knife that I pull out of my side. So I'ma put the past behind me, 'cause I got strength inside me, and a strength that I wanna share with you.
Welcome to episode 8 of the Say My Name podcast. In this episode, we welcome Jennifer LaCava. Her story is fresh and raw, but goes back 18 years when her first child was diagnosed with autism and an intellectual disability. She shares her darkest days of feeling like she had failed her son as it grew more and more difficult for her to manage his care as a single mother of 2. Jennifer was able to reach out for and accept the help she needed, to realize that she was not alone, could let go of that pain, and in her words, rise again. If you or anyone you know has a family member or loved one with a disability, please know that we love you. You are not alone, and we are here to help. Welcome to the Say My Name podcast. We have a very amazing guest who happens to be one of my close personal friends, Jen LaCava. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you for being here and for sharing.
Thank you, girls, for having me. I'm so excited to tell my story, and if I can just help a couple other families in the special needs community, it will be all worth it.
You're going to help more than a couple.
I hope so.
I can't wait to hear it.
I hope so. So just recently, 6 months ago, I did the most difficult thing in my life I ever had to do. I really thought it was going to kill me. I had to put my 18-year-old special needs son into a group home. And I have come out the other side, but I'd like to give you a little background about that, if I may. I met my husband, and we were in our 30s, and we were ready to settle down and start a family. And I was always one of those, I want to plan every single thing out down to the finest detail. So we're going to date for a couple years, we're going to live together for a year, we're going to get married, we are going to buy a house, and then when we figure out our finances, we will have that first child. And all those things went according to plan, and I was so excited and so happy that, the things I'm hoping for and planning for are coming to fruition. I was 35, considered advanced age for my first child. Great pregnancy, super easy delivery. But unfortunately, by the time Jared was 2.5, we knew something was off. And it was thanks to my mother encouraging me, not in a negative way, but, look, something is not quite right. You need to see some professionals, and let's find out what's going on with your boy. And sure enough, just before 3 years old, we got the autism diagnosis. And it was startling and frightening and shocking. He already, by almost 3, had 0 verbal ability. He was very calm and mellow. I would try so hard to get him to laugh. He wouldn't laugh. Nothing really entertained him. He seemed quite frustrated almost all the time and was pinching my legs and pinching my arms. I actually have tiny little toddler fingernail scars all over my legs. He was just trying to communicate something, and he couldn't. But this was my first child. I just thought he was a little odd. No screaming or temper tantrums, just that sense of frustration that you could see in him and that pleading look that he would give me. And I didn't know what he was asking for. And even sensory seeking, pushing his arms against things to stretch, even at a toddler. But I wasn't aware that that was a sign for autism. So we went to a wonderful developmental child psychiatrist, and had a good long visit. She was very frank. Yes, he definitely has autism. You are going to have challenges. She said he will probably always have challenges, but if you find all the right resources, you will be able to get through. At this point, he's only 3 years old. I dove in every book, every article, every special, and unfortunately, the husband at the time had a very, very difficult time accepting it. I would just highlight little paragraphs in a book. Look, this is our Jared. We need to address this. And he did not want to see it. He just couldn't take it. And I think firstborn, son, it was probably maybe more difficult even on him than it was to me, because, my son, and he's not going to be the child that we had hoped for. All that future loss you're thinking about, mourning all these things that, will he be able to do this? Will he be able to do that? So I tried to be very much in organization mode. How do I find therapists? How do I find at-home providers? How do I get him into early preschool? And that was the focus of my life. And then our daughter came along, Gina, 2 years later.
Was that planned?
Yes, that's another thing. It was all planned. Down to, you'll get a kick out of this, we literally planned the month that we wanted the kids born. Here's a red flag I should have picked up on. So it wouldn't be during football season.
Wow.
So they wouldn't be infants. And I was oblivious to what that really meant. I just thought, okay, that works for me. Yeah.
Wow.
So was there a fear that Gina would have the same difficulties, or did you know that there was a genetic component?
By that point, I was researching enough that I knew boys were far more affected. And I think I was so caught up in what was going on with Jared that it didn't, in some way I was lucky, it didn't even come to me to think maybe Gina might have some issues. But thank goodness, typical, right on track, all her markers, nothing that was ever concerning, thank goodness. And then the years went by. We got him in developmental preschool. I spearheaded everything. I went to every IEP meeting alone. I went to every developmental pediatrician alone. We started him at the dentist very young. I went alone. And poor little Jared was so frightened at the dentist. The first time he got such a bloody nose that we couldn't even do the dental exam.
Procedure.
And again, all these things alone. And I would get home and want to talk about it. And his dad just couldn't be there for that. And that was how he dealt with it, whether it was denial. So it was all on me all that time. And I just felt I've got to put 110% into this. Now, unfortunately, that came at the expense of the marriage. I think there's figures 80-something% plus special needs parents end up divorced, and that was us.
I had no idea.
It might even be as high as 88%.
Wow. That is so fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And unfortunately, Gina, my daughter, she did not get enough of that attention either. One thing that sticks with me, I remember she was 3 years old, and I was dealing with a situation with Jared. And toddler Gina, 3 years old, put on her own pajamas, turned on her nightlight, and turned off her light and put herself into bed.
Wow.
And she is 16 now. That was when she was 3, and it still feels terrible to think that I wasn't there for her for that. A lot of feelings of failure, but I felt I had to do everything I could for Jared. Also, if he's being violent and aggressive as he's 5 years old with his dresser, trying to pull out drawers, of course, I need to run and take care of that. So that was really our life.
Describe some of those violent episodes and what you had to deal with.
When he was still little and manageable, it would be like knocking over anything he could get his hands on. You know, kids have those low dressers. He would knock the drawers out. He would knock the dresser over. He would push everything off any table or surface. He loved the cartoons on the DVD player. He would bang the remote on things. He would bang the remote on his head. He started the self-injurious behaviors very young, unfortunately. And he just seemed so frustrated, and I couldn't figure out why. So I developed this terrible habit that I see now of getting him everything he wanted the second he wanted it in those years to maintain the calm. And unfortunately, I created a monster. You know, if we were out of the blue goldfish, he is slamming the pantry door. It just created a terrible precedent, and I just didn't know any other way to deal with it at the time. Just do what he wants, get him his things to try to keep it mellow in our home.
So if you had some advice for somebody who's experiencing that right now, what would you tell them to do if they're having a son or a daughter that's doing that?
As difficult as it is, because I understand that need for peace in your home, you need to find some outside providers and caregivers, whether it's a respite person, whether it's even just a family member, to come in so that you're not doing it alone, to help you power through it. At one point, Jared had to have all 4 of his front teeth pulled because they were so damaged, because I would just let him have the cookies and the candy just to stop the tantrum. I think he was only 5 or 6 years old. So you have to be strong. It's not easy. I know, I have been there, but you've got to try to get that outside help, whether respite, habilitation, an ABA provider, and they can come in and help you set up how to do this. It's certainly not easy, and you're going to have the violence and the aggression, if your child is predisposed to that, of course. And just don't do the easy way out, because as that child grows and eventually gets bigger and stronger than you, then you're talking real danger, violence to them, violence to yourselves. So you've got to break that. You early. The younger and the smaller they are, the better. By the time Jared was in his teens, he was bigger than me. And we had holes in every wall, in every room of my house, every door, every cabinet, from him banging his head over the years. He had developed a permanent bump on his forehead from all the banging, which the pediatrician joked, well, believe it or not, that's calcium buildup that's protecting his skull. But it got to the point when he was bigger where my daughter and I would have to hide in the bathroom because he was coming after us with this aggression and rage that he couldn't process it. He didn't want to hurt us. Right. I know. Yeah. I know he loved us. But whatever was happening with his type of autism and intellectual disability and puberty, really, parents, be aware for the boys when that time comes, because they can't help it. And that testosterone is surging through their system. And they're very, very strong. And Gina and I would hide in the bathroom and we'd lean against the door to keep it shut, because he had stripped, so strong, he had stripped all the locks of the door handles, and we'd be on the phone with 911, and they would come, and it broke the spell of his rage. So somehow just these other people coming in, the interest of the firefighters, but that was happening almost weekly the last 2 years.
So what would he do? Did he ever get to you, and did he actually physically hit you?
Yes. I've unfortunately gone into work with a black eye, big bloody scratches on my forehead and my face. When he learned to make a fist and purposely punch, I had a realization, you know what, I've got to do something serious. This isn't a 5 or a 6-year-old, clawing at me or pulling my hair. This is an almost man attacking me out of that rage. Not because he's mad and doesn't love mommy, but he couldn't control it.
What would set him off?
Oh, just tiny things. That was what was so frustrating. Tiny things. He loves the DVDs, as many of our special needs kids do. They love the cartoons. And they will play, rewind, over and over. So a disc would get worn out, and maybe his favorite scene wouldn't play anymore. And then when that would happen, he would just lose it. He couldn't deal with that frustration and that anger. I would try to intervene and say, well, let's try this one instead. And unfortunately, the more I tried to intervene, the more he came after me. We had a few times where both hands he grabbed me by the hair and threw me down, knocked me down. And again, not because he doesn't love mommy, but because he's so rage and frustrated and not knowing how to deal with it. The firefighters in the neighborhood made some wonderful suggestions. They were the ones who eventually convinced me to switch medical providers and medications. And we went to the new provider, and right away this new medical provider said, let's try a different medication. Within only 3 months of being at this new medical provider, we got a good medication, and he started to really calm down. He still had all his issues, but he wasn't getting to that very violent, aggressive time. And that made a huge difference. I would also say to parents, if you're with a medical provider who's not listening to your suggestions or your pleas of help, just change providers. There are other providers who are open to listening to the parents more. And that was a huge improvement.
Tell me about when your husband left.
Well, I actually was the one who filed for divorce.
So what happened?
He had become so, I'm sad to say, he had become so aggressive and unpleasant. I would walk around at home on eggshells. What would set him off? I think he never accepted the diagnosis of autism and intellectual disability in his only son. I think he couldn't deal with it, and it just turned in, for him also, unfortunately, turned into anger and rage and frustration. And we had some incidents, never towards me or the children, but always around the house and the property. And I thought to myself, maybe that's only step one. What if the kids and I are step two? And I just can't risk that.
So you would hit things, damage things.
Kick the doors in, throw like a nice coffee mug, throw a mug, shatter it, wake the kids up in the middle of the night, yelling to them about something that, that mommy is always caring for the kids and not him. Very close to the divorce, he had said, why do you always say to me, the kids' interests come first? And that was another belated red flag that made me realize, okay, this person, though he loves these two little people, does not have the wherewithal to be a good, responsible parent, especially with a special needs child. So I went ahead and filed, and we separated, and the kids and I moved into a rental. I set everything up just like our other house, and actually it was quite smooth for them. He would come and visit, sometimes, take them on little outings and what have you. And in a way, I think it was easier on them that we divorced when they were so young, because it just came their norm, and they were fine with it. So I'm thankful at least for that. And then it took many, many years. I want to say maybe 6 or 7 years for the kid's dad to finally come to terms that this is a condition our son has, and he's not going to outgrow it. So we need to love and accept and be with him as he is, where he is.
So share with me some of your thoughts and the journey that you went through just dealing with that diagnosis and accepting it and understanding it, because you are one of the most loving, understanding, accepting people I've ever met.
Thank you.
But I know it had to have been so hard sometimes.
It was such a shock because, as I said, I planned everything out to the last detail. I never planned for a special needs child. I never planned to be a parent alone with a special needs child. I was lucky in that I never felt guilt about Jared. I felt failure and embarrassment that I couldn't help him more. And for years, I never left that house. Even if a qualified sitter came, I was afraid to leave that house because I thought, I'm the only one who can safely handle him and deal with the situations. There was a lot of that feeling of, just failing him. Eventually, we did get a very good male respite provider, and I could go on errands. I would still always rush back because I felt I'm the only one who can handle Jared. I don't know if that's a real fear or is that part of my control coming out. I have to be very honest with myself and say I can't quite differentiate. Is a little bit of both? Do I want to be in charge because I like to be in control, or also because I know how best to handle him? Also, all through the years, there are all those little losses, as I mentioned. You're mourning what his life won't be. And I felt, I don't think I should enjoy life if he doesn't get to enjoy life. So I didn't go to the movies for 9-10 years. I didn't go out with friends for like 9-10 years. My family from Connecticut came to visit, and I visited them at my house, and I visited them at my parents' house, and then they all went on just a short day trip to Sedona, and I couldn't bring myself to go. And I hadn't seen them, I don't know how many years, 8-10 years. So I missed out on that because I was so worried about looking after Jared. And again, worried mixed with, do I need to be in control so I know everything is okay with him? And this was life for years. And I would just kind of hide in the house. I have to be honest. I would just hide in the house because I was so humiliated that I had failed as a mother, that I couldn't do the things to cure him. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at that time, were you a stay-at-home mom?
No. As soon as we got divorced, thank goodness, the universe fell into place for me. We got divorced, and less than 3 weeks later, I got a job at a real estate office with some friends, and I worked steady for 2 years at that, and then I started at the school so I could be on the same schedule as the kids. So I have to remind myself, good things were still happening. I was able to take care of the family. The kids were in school. So once I got the job at the school, we were on the same schedule. That relieved a lot of that stress and worry of who would care for them. The great group of women, I'm telling you, soul sisters, the universe puts the right people in your path. And a great group of women who I work with were saying, we are concerned for your safety and for Gina's safety. We'll never push you to make a decision that you don't want to do. But when you are ready, we are here for you. And they would always remind me of this. And eventually, one of the times with the police and the hiding in the bathroom, I thought to myself, my daughter doesn't deserve to live like this. Even though I was feeling I failed my son, I don't really deserve to live like this either. Even though not that I felt it was my fault, but I felt that I let him down. And through the support of my stepdad, Miss Kendra at school. They went with me to the meetings and the interviews to start the whole group home process. I really thought I was going to die. I was so afraid to let him go. But we went through all the steps. I found an agency that I had great faith in. And, you know, we're experiencing it now with this group. People who you connect with, who you say, these are my people. Mm-hmm. These are the people that have been put on my path for a reason. And that was the agency that I chose. I kept myself very busy with the logistics. Oh, what bedspread am I going to bring? Oh, how are we going to set up his room? Oh, let me refinish his little dresser. Just stayed very busy with the logistics. And before I knew it, the day came.
How long was the process between when you decided?
It was a very long process, and that's another thing I'd tell parents. If you think you're getting desperate, you need to act and start the process, because this was 8 to 9 months from deciding to do it, having the interviews, paperwork like you could not imagine. I got very lucky in that this agency was opening a new expansion home. I was able to actually pick the house. How amazing is that? So it all just fell into place. I picked a house that was only 15 minutes away from my own home with a pool. I don't even have a pool.
It was meant to be.
Yes, exactly. So we moved him in. My stepdad came along with me. We set his room up exactly the same way. And of course, you can imagine I'm having the terror sweats and the chest palpitations. And my stepdad says, "You've just got to relax for his sake." And he said, look over at him. He was already on the computer watching cartoons as if nothing was wrong. And the first 10 days, I went there twice a day, every day. I'm sure those poor people thought I was the most annoying pain in the ass mother ever. And then little by little, I eased back. And I could tell, because you know your child. You look at their face, their demeanor. I could tell he was fine. Not only was he fine, and this part's a little sad and hard to admit, he was more happy and relaxed there than he had been at home for years. And that was the moment where I think I finally relaxed and took a breath and said, okay, I did it. We did it. This is the right thing. And by the second month, when I went to visit him one day, he's watching his cartoons. I'm talking to him. He stands up like a nice gentleman. He opens the door and he gestures to me, "Bye-bye, Mommy. Go home in the car now." I was cramping his style.
That's amazing.
It really is. And I will say to parents, only you can decide. Other people can tell you and try to encourage you, but only you can decide when the time is right. Do your research, be prepared, focus on the planning so that you aren't freaking out over the emotions, and you may have just as wonderful a result. Now my daughter and I are safe at home. We can sit at the table and eat a meal that I cooked instead of, the chicken is all burned and the pan is black because I've been upstairs with Jared for an hour. She can actually have a friend over to our house. She hasn't done that in 10 years. Jared is going on like 3-4 outings a week. The store, the park, the community center, the library. None of these things I could do with him anymore because he just got too big and too fast for me to keep him safe. I feel like the phoenix rising. I'm so relieved. The weight off my chest. Being able to come home from work and not be scared.
I was going to ask you that.
It's amazing, and it happened so quickly that all I needed was for him to say, "Bye, Mommy," go home in the car, and just the weight lifted off my shoulders. I feel a little bit like the old Jennifer, who was happy and relaxed before Jared, and now my daughter is getting these feelings and experiences too, finally.
Wow. That's amazing. How do you feel about curing autism now?
Oh, goodness. You know, I would still love if there was a cure and Jared could live life as a typical. It's not on me. I can't cure it. If all the specialists all over the world can't cure it, I certainly can't. And I've got to stop beating myself up over not being able to cure it. I always loved him and accepted him, but I think I always felt, I wish he didn't have autism. I wish he didn't have autism.
Yeah.
I think that was the
Thought?
just the recurring thought over and over. I wish he didn't have
You were
autism.
perseverating on that?
Exactly. I was perseverating.
I'm sure that pretty much every single parent who has a disabled child feels that way, and
Probably.
feels guilt right after feeling that or thinking that.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that that's very important that you say that, just so that others can go, okay, I'm not the only one that feels that about my child.
Exactly. And that feeling of, gee, I wish my kid was somehow different. And, oh, you don't want to say that aloud because that makes you sound like a terrible person. But I think a lot of us, we don't say it so much for ourselves, but for them, oh gosh, he'll never drive a car, not go to the prom. But for some of these kids, Jared, the way he is, he doesn't know about that. He doesn't care about that. He's completely happy in his environment with his cartoons and his snacks and his favorite pillow. He's happy as a clam. He doesn't need me to cure him.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah.
You will have a very unhappy life if all you concentrate is, how can I fix him?
Mm-hmm.
How can I cure him? How can I make life better for him as a typical? Just accept them where they are. Okay, he's 18 and he loves SpongeBob and Dora. You know what? That's fine. That makes him happy. It's not what I want, it's what he wants.
I know from personal experience, just with other people that I love and know, they're thinking the same things.
Yes.
They're
And
striving to cure autism.
yes.
Did you ever feel like this isn't fair, or why me?
I never thought, why me? My thought was, biology, science, Mother Nature screwed me, screwed my kid. So what can I do about it? I wanted to know the medical reasons. I was very curious about that, but I was very lucky in staying away from the why me and the guilt on myself. And I attribute that to my mother, who was a very progressive, liberal, 60s, 70s mom, pregnant in her miniskirt, smoking her cigarette with her long hair, instilling in me, don't dwell on that part. Let's look at the solution. Let's look at the planning. Let's look at the steps. So I think for that part of it, I was very lucky. And I know so many other families, the guilt and the what did I do wrong? Oh, you can never do that to yourself because you didn't do anything wrong. Autism is a mystery and we don't know. There's so many factors. You can't waste time and energy doing that to yourself because it serves no one.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I didn't think I could
Such
do
a
it.
brave thing to do.
I honestly didn't think I could do it, but I did it, and we're out the other side, and everyone's doing well. That's the end of the rainbow. Everyone's doing well. Do I wish I did it sooner? Sure. But I had to be ready. No matter how many times I went to work, black eye, bloody scratches on my face, and people trying to encourage me, I had to wait until I was ready. But then knowing that all these wonderful people were out there supporting me, both literally and figuratively, holding me up to get me through it, admitting I needed the help. And that's another thing I would say to the parents. Admit you need the help. Whoever you want to say it to. People want to help. The people who love you and care about you want to help. Even if it's a friend who's just going to come over while you take a 30-minute nap on the couch and just keep an eye on things. So you need to reach out to your people or find other people who want to help and who can help.
So when did you say you needed help?
It wasn't until the very last 2 years, one of the times where Jared actually had to be committed for a psych hold for 48 hours. That was one of the times he had scratched my face up, and it was very bloody. And that's when I knew I just couldn't do it alone. And I called some of the girls from work, and they came to the hospital. And, I said, I need tissue. I need some makeup remover. Just little things like that. People want ways to help you. So go ahead, admit it. Say what it is. And then when the whole process started, it was hard for me. I didn't want to be open and honest because I wanted to be strong and independent and handle it all on my own. But then I'd get an email from the agency saying, the papers are signed. The house will be ready in 6 weeks. And I would burst into tears at my desk. And, so we would talk about it. We'd go to another classroom. I'd talk with one adult. Then another adult would come over. We would just talk it out. Take a break, go use the restroom, and just them always encourage me. We're here for you. You're going to get through this. But it wasn't easy. I didn't want to admit I needed help.
Yeah, I get that. Being a single mom, I did not have a disabled child, but being a single mom and just having kind of definitely a very big ego of I've got this and I don't
Yes.
need any help. And then being in a position where it's like, oh my God, I need help. It's so humbling.
It is.
But yet, oh my God, they were the most sacred and special moments for me to be able to have people to step up to the plate and just pour their love onto me and be able to give me what I needed was such an amazing experience.
Yeah, and you have to be open to accept
Yeah.
it. The day that Jared and I came home from the psych hold, all the work girls, my other soul sisters, had put his entire room back together, cleaned the whole upstairs,
Wow.
put some covering over the holes in the walls, all while I was in the hospital that day. It was just amazing. And to know that there are people out there that you can count on that are going to help you through. They're not going to judge you. They don't care if there's 20 holes in every wall in your house. They're concerned about your well-being
Yeah.
and your family's well-being.
Their heart breaks for you. You have some amazing women in your life.
Totally. Yep. Yep. Very lucky. Very lucky to just have the universe put me on that path, meet all the right people at the right time, people who were willing to wait for me to get to my place when I was ready to do it, and they just jumped right in.
Love it.
So how's Gina doing now? Tell me about her transformation.
She is really coming out of her shell. For years, she would just stay in her room with the door shut because she was afraid. She was just afraid. And now we sit on the couch together. We have our new favorite TV show, and we talk and we chat. I try to get her to learn how to make dinners with me. We can sit at the table and eat a meal without an interruption. Now I'm talking to her about improving those grades. She doesn't like that part, but we are really on a road to having a stronger, better mother-daughter relationship,
Yeah.
and it feels so good.
So how does she feel about Jared? What are her feelings? What does she say?
This is sad. This is a tough one. She resents Jared tremendously, and that's completely understandable. When she was little, all the attention was on him. She did not get what she needed. She really didn't. And then when both kids got bigger and older, bless her heart, she was more concerned for me because my kids are both big, 5'10". Gina's 5'10",
Wow.
Jared's 5'11". I'm only 5'1". The last year and a half, Gina was more worried about my well-being because I am so small and Jared could overpower me. A child shouldn't have to be worried about their parents' safety. She is thrilled he's out of the house. She will comment when we're watching our show, Manifest, Monday nights on NBC. She will
We
sit.
should be paid for that plug.
Right, exactly. She will hold my hand and say, I love doing this. We're just having fun and together and enjoying our time. And I said, I know, I'm sorry we never had it. She's like, no, it's great as it is, and we'll do this moving forward. So that is really an amazing thing. She doesn't miss him, and she doesn't desire to visit him. She went when we moved him in to see what it was like. And, bye, Jared. Hug, kiss, goodbye. I'm not going to push that. She will come to that at her own time. I'm sure she needs her space and her maturity to walk through that resentment. She already knows it's not his fault, but that doesn't make her ready to jump in and be a loving sister, spending lots of time with him. But maybe in the future, going to completely let her choose that at her own pace.
What did she do during some of those times that he lashed out at you?
I would just tell her to go in her room and lock the door because I couldn't have him turn on her. Gina's hair is super, super long. He could just easily grab her hair and pull out a chunk as well. This poor teenage girl is hiding in her room, I'm sad to say, hearing us like wrestling and screaming, and I'm saying, stop. Eventually I would get away from him and could call 911, but he would be relentless, and I'm sure she was terrified, the poor girl. At the very end, almost once a week, the police and the firemen were at my house almost once a week. Yeah.
Did he actually hit her or?
There were a few times where he tried, but she was quick. She's got those long legs, but he has pulled her hair and pulled hair out of her head. Yeah, very, very scary and not fair for a teenage girl.
So you guys had a safe room.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Correct. We'd go into the little bathroom downstairs. Even though the lock didn't work, we would lean against the door. But he was so strong, he could still push it open with the two of us leaning against it. And I think for her, it was so crazy because she couldn't understand, where is this coming from? Why is he raging? We're at home. We're watching cartoons. So I think it made it even more difficult for her because at least me as a mom and all the research I did, I knew this was coming from that autism place where his brain and his verbal ability just couldn't get it together. Add in the puberty and the testosterone. As an adult, I could cope with that and understood, but for her, it just was a very scary time. When I finally got the respite provider, then I could go to the grocery store once a week. Prior to that, I would, on my 45-minute lunch break from work, speed over to Walmart, buy a couple things, bring them into school, then put them away at home. I would do that every day.
Wow.
Every day for maybe 2 years. I couldn't even, if we ran out of toilet paper, I couldn't just run to the store and grab toilet paper. I couldn't bring Jared with me. That wasn't safe. Couldn't leave the two of them home alone. And I had stopped asking friends to come and help because a recent time, a friend came and helped. I came back. She had a big pink spot on her cheek. He had punched her. And I was only gone 20 minutes. So a lot of things were just done during that 30, 45-minute break.
And your ex-husband was just completely out of the picture by this point.
Completely. He would come and get our daughter, and she would go and visit with him. Jared did not want to make the trip, so sometimes he would come and hang out and visit. Again, he loves those kids, but can't handle the responsibility. Again, the lovely ladies I work with had come to me to the emergency room when Jared had to be put in that psych hold. They were the ones who came with me. And I had called the ex-husband while I'm on the freeway. I'm following the ambulance. We have to bring Jared to Phoenix Children's for a psychiatric hold. And he said, okay, well, let me know how it turns out. I'm playing guitar. Yeah, I was really
Complete
in
denial.
Yeah, just no sense of responsibility. But, I have to say, as much as I love to dig him, put digs on him, he does love the kids, but he just does not have the ability to be the parent that they need. Yeah.
So how often did he see Gina?
Almost every weekend. Yeah, really almost every weekend. And she enjoyed it because, at his house, it was just his place and him and the dog. So she enjoyed that immensely. That was her respite from the craziness of our house. And then every time the dad would come Friday night, he'd go up and visit with Jared. Maybe he'd bring him some McDonald's. And then Sunday night when he brought Gina back, same thing. So he loved him. He wanted to see him, but he certainly couldn't parent him. I want to say he never spent more than 2 hours alone with Jared from the time we were divorced in 2006 until Jared moved into the group home in 2016.
So did he do any of that with you?
No, not at all. Not at all. He did say he supported it because he couldn't keep coming to help me when those things were happening. Because I would call him first thinking, Gina and I are being attacked. Can you please come help us? Oh, I was just going to get in the shower. Let me call you back. And you can hear Jared in the background knocking things down and screaming and raging. He just didn't have it in him. And that was, you don't learn that about your partner until something happens. Right. We're single, we're dating, we're living together. It's just the two adults. We're managing our jobs, we're managing our lives. You don't know when something drastic happens how your partner is going to respond. And unfortunately, mine did not respond well.
So tell me the things that you believe about yourself now. We've covered it a little bit, but tell me how you feel. Tell me what it feels like to get up every morning and what the possibilities are. What do you want to do?
I feel, like I said, I feel like the phoenix rising. I feel my strength. I feel my power. I feel my real smile. For years, it was just that fake smile. I feel the weight lifted. I feel possibilities. I went on a trip to Connecticut to visit my family for a week.
Awesome.
Yes, for the first time in maybe 10 years. And
that probably felt so weird.
It was very weird, but you'll be proud. I only contacted the group home once in the middle of the visit, and they said, no, he's fine. Everything's going along just as normal. When I came back, of course, the very next day I went to visit him. He didn't miss a beat. He didn't even realize I was gone for that 1 week. Yet for me, I got to connect with all my brothers and sisters and my father and the stepside of the family. And it was so wonderful.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I've gone to the movies twice in the past 6 months. I hadn't done that in years. I've gone to a few happy hours with the girlfriends. I've gone out to eat. It's really like a whole new world opening up. Yeah. Yeah.
You can see it on your face.
I feel like you can.
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
You look like a different person.
I feel like a different person. I feel like the stress of doing it alone and the fear and that feeling of failure has all been lifted, and it's going to be okay. And I feel like it is coming out. Sometimes I feel foolish because I feel a little giggly about just simple little things. Yeah. Gina will say, hey, we're out of toilet paper. I'll say, I'll jump in the car and get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a joy. I'm happy to run to Walmart and buy toilet paper. It's like, ooh, I'm on an outing and I don't have to worry. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what next?
What next? I really don't know. I think I stay at my same job just because I love those human beings so much. I mean, I'll say it again, those soul sisters have gotten me through, really. So even though we all know education, poor pay, I think I'll stay in my job, but I think I'm going to look for something else, maybe a little part-time thing or even a volunteer thing where I can help someone else. Because for so long, it was always me needing the help. I didn't like that person. I didn't like that Jennifer who always needed the help. But now it can be my turn.
Pay it forward.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I've had 2 little opportunities. I was able to bring some cold medicine to a friend, and then I was able to drive down the freeway to another friend's and lock her front door that she forgot to do. Yeah. So just little things like that, feeling like I can be a friend who helps now too.
Yeah. Oh,
it's wonderful.
Well, I've always felt like you were the friend who helps.
Thank you.
Always.
That is maybe in my words and my support, but I just felt like I couldn't really do anything physically to help anyone. And that made me feel less, in myself.
Yeah.
Not that I ever felt that from anyone.
It's amazing how brilliant and like bright your heart feels when you can help someone. And I hope
Without
that
a
you
doubt.
understand that that's how people felt when they helped you, and that was a blessing for them to be able to
Yes.
reach out to you.
Yes, when we got home from the hospital and they were upstairs working, they were just so happy and joyous. And then I came home and saw this, and our joy just multiplied, love for one another and support. And oh my gosh, I can accept help. And then all these people, hey, we can help. It was a really wonderful time.
And so grateful for the opportunity to do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's
Such
been
a
a long
brave journey you've been on.
Thank you. I just encourage other parents, be strong.
Yeah.
Get that outside help. Ask your loved ones and your circle. Ask them for help because they want to help. Yeah.
Yeah, they want to help. Sometimes they don't know what to do or how to.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
But if you can
just
say, hey, come over for 20 minutes.
Yep. I want to shave my legs for the
Yeah.
first time in 6 months. Right.
Oh, I love you so much. You're
I love
amazing.
you too. I love you too. And Carrie,
I
I have new
know.
love for you too.
I love you too. We just barely met, and I love you.
Yeah, but it's being in the right place at the right time, meeting
Yeah.
the people you're supposed to meet, being open to that, and it will help you. It really will. Don't hide.
So, if you could do anything right now, like a career or a trip, or what would you do?
I am such a total archaeology historian nerd. My dream would be to be a paleoanthropologist. It's probably past time for me because of my age, but I bet
Never.
I could take some
Never too
classes
late.
Totally.
with archaeology
Never
and paleontology. I light up learning about that stuff. I find it so fascinating. Who were we? Where did we come from? What's our source? How did we get here on the planet to here where we are now?
Right.
That really would be my dream. And really, I had my dream trip already to go to Connecticut and see all those family members.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
making
you
it
could go on
happen.
a dig.
I know.
Oh, right. I
Where
should
would
look
you
into
go?
that. Oh, Egypt, of course.
Of course. I'll go with you.
Yeah, Egypt.
Me too. I want to go.
Egypt is the bucket list, without a doubt. Yeah.
I have some family that are going to move to Israel for a year next year.
How exciting.
I know.
Oh my
we
goodness.
should go.
Yeah.
And then
Look
just
into it.
take a little jaunt over
Yeah,
to Egypt.
over to
for a
Egypt,
couple
see the
days.
pyramids.
Easy,
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. I feel
Join one of the digs.
Yeah.
Hey, can we jump in there?
yeah, we'll do it for free. We're just here for fun. We'll get our hats.
Just give me my toothbrush. I'll just brush the
We'll
dirt.
do it for free. Scoot over.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I feel a very strong connection and passion for that ancient times, ancient civilizations, all of that. I don't know if there's something to that. But
Maybe you were an Egyptian in a past life.
Yes.
I would love to do a regression because it really
We know
speaks to
somebody
me.
who does that.
All right.
She's amazing.
We'll hook you up.
Yeah, it really speaks to me.
Okay, so we're going to play a game,
Okay.
and it's called Would You Rather.
Oh dear. Uh-oh.
Yes.
Did you notice that all the ones that we did were like poop and fart ones?
Classy stuff.
There's a little theme.
It's the
Going
funny
on.
stuff. It's the funniest. First one. Would you rather always stink and not know it, or always smell something that stinks that no one else smells?
Oh, smell something that stinks that no one else smells. Yes.
Would you rather lick your best friend's foot or let a stranger lick your foot?
Oh, lick the best friend's foot for sure.
I would
yes.
totally let a stranger lick my foot.
Oh,
I don't want to lick a
girls.
foot, but somebody can lick mine.
But a stranger.
I don't care.
Okay.
You never know what's in that mouth.
Like, suck on that toe.
That's funny. Would you rather walk in on your parents doing the deed?
Oh.
Or have them walk
I've
in
done
on
that.
you doing the deed?
Oh my God, no. No.
Oh my gosh.
that's-
They're both so awful. I'm going to say I would rather have them walk in on me because, you know, they're older and closer to death.
Right.
Whereas if I walked in on them. Exactly. Oh.
How did your parents die? They walked in on me having sex.
But they're closer to the death. You wouldn't have to be as embarrassed for as long.
Well, and I think if you walked in on them, that might turn you off
Forever.
for sex forever. Oh, imagine that picture would come to your mind.
Oh, that is terrible.
Would you rather eat your hair trimmings after every haircut or eat your
Oh, no.
Or what?
or eat your nail clippings each time you cut your nails? Hair or nails?
Oh, gracious.
Both of them are dead.
True. I think I'd go with hair.
Ew.
Yeah, I
Hair.
think I'd go
That's
with hair.
disgusting.
Yeah, because
Like
think of the
nails
things
are-
we're touching all day.
Ew. I used
they're
to have a
crunchy.
dog that would eat my
think
nail
about
clippings.
having, like-
It was the worst
But think
ever.
about having then you know
No,
what
I
it's like
can't.
to be
Stop
a
it. I
cat.
can't. I can't think
Oh,
about that right now. It's so awful. No.
Oh, yeah, don't start gagging.
She gags all the time.
Yeah.
She
Oh.
dry heaves all the time.
Oh, no.
Only when I see you put
Don't say
something
it.
in your mouth.
Oh. Oh,
It's
okay.
like what's that thing called? For the mouth guard thing for
Speak
Oh,
out
bite
or
guards?
whatever.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Like I put that in my
And
mouth.
she drools and
and
oh,
I suck
dear.
out my
Yeah.
drool. I was like,
Well, that is a little gag worthy.
she's like, like what?
Gross.
What's wrong? Would you rather begin every sentence with "Hey, idiot," or end every sentence with "Haha, I was just kidding"?
I like hey idiot.
I do too. Would you rather be without elbows or without knees?
Oh, I would say knees because at least with elbows I could brush my hair.
Yeah, true.
And brush my
I
teeth.
didn't think about that. I was thinking about walking.
Oh, yeah.
Would you rather have diarrhea every day for the next 3 months, or be constipated every day for the next 3 months?
Oh my god.
Constipated. No, I don't know.
Diarrhea, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Constipated 3 months, you'd end up in the
being
hospital.
All the time for
What?
3 months. Short.
You'd make it. You're fast.
Yeah.
You could run fast.
You could do it.
Yeah.
You'd wear just like a Depends or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Would you
We're at
rather
the
use-
grocery store?
Eye drops made of vinegar or toilet paper made of sandpaper?
Oh, that's terrible. I'm going to say the sandpaper toilet paper. I think it's a little rougher area there.
I
And
just
the,
wouldn't wipe.
and the yeah, air dry.
Oh my gosh. That's terrible. Would you rather have your breath smell like a bad fart or have your laugh sound like a fart?
Nope.
Laugh like a fart for sure. Yeah. I have 10 Altoids a day trying not to have bad breath. Yeah, that laugh fart is fine with me.
That's awesome. We love you so much.
We
love you girls,
Oh my
too.
god, this
So,
was so
so
amazing
much.
to listen to your story.
I'm so happy
inspiring.
I'm so happy to have a forum to share it and hope that other
Yes.
parents can learn from it and know that you could come out the other side positive. Yeah.
They will.
They
Don't you
will.
think that
It's
you
gonna
would
be
have
amazing.
really
Yes.
been inspired by somebody by hearing the story
Yes.
that was 5 years ago?
Yes, to
Yeah.
know that you can do it and
Yeah.
everybody's going to be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
You're going to inspire so many people.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. It felt great to share it and kind of revel in my own happiness
Right.
too.
Really.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you. You're amazing.
Love you girls. Say my name.
Say my name,
Say
baby.
my name.
Okay.
Follow Instagram. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook.